Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Action Popcast. Now, I don't know if the intro video was as glitchy for you guys as it was for us. I hope it was, and if it was, apologies for that. It's just the usual StreamYard being a pain in my neck. But anyway, before I go any further, I want to say hello to everyone in the chat. I want to say hello to our special guest this evening, Sai MANGAFANDANGA. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me on. It's cool beginning now. Let's get down to that 70s vibe.
Yeah,
fits in with the Dragon.
I enjoy putting that together. I mean, it's only music off of YouTube library because I didn't want to get copyright struck or anything. But I found that and I was like, that's got the vibe that we need. And stick it with your artwork, man. Awesome. Couldn't have asked for better, really. But how have you been this week, mate?
Looks good. It looks good on that red background like that, doesn't it? You've exposed it on that red, and because I'm big for red, it's the only colour I mostly ever use in my art. So yeah, it's great.
Goes well with the scratches. But yeah, no, sorry. Just say, how have you been this week, mate? You been up to much?
No, not really. Just getting commissions done. This time of year, I'm always filled with commissions for Christmas. Always people want artwork doing. So
a
lot of work being done. Yeah. So come October.
And the grind again. Yeah, so.
Always.
Before I say hello to the chat, so this came about because I always say to Sai, I'll give Sai a call, and Stu will know how this feels, and I say, just 10-minute chat, mate, 10-minute chat, and then 2.5, maybe 3 hours later, we're maybe finished talking, and we were both talking about films we liked, and we both said we love Enter the Dragon, and I was like, oh, would you do a stream about it? And he's like, yeah, when do you want to do it? Like a week Thursday. I was like, oh, okay, yep. And here we are this evening. So I hope that there are some fans of Enter the Dragon and Bruce Lee in the chat this evening. But before we get into the subject, I'm just going to say hello to a few people. So we have Travels and More with Jason. He says, hi all. Hello, mate. How are you? He also goes on to say, I think I only watched this film about twice in my life, but I do remember having it on video back in the day. That's interesting because me and Sai were saying that the VHS days were probably the worst days to own it because it was cut to pieces, wasn't it? So
yeah.
We will get into that in a bit, but yeah, you didn't on VHS. You didn't get the full film, which was a shame, really. We have TJC. He says, "Evening all."
JC.
Hello, TJC. We have Martin from a long time ago. He says, "Evening to everyone." Sai, Nick, everyone. Yep. Hello, lots of hellos. We have the super spanner himself, and I say that because he's a moderator. We have Monkey Boys Toys. He says, hiya. So yeah, I like what he's done there. Hiya. Oh, who else have we got in? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, on the promise of cake, we have Connor from Fuller's Figures. He says, Enter the Dragon is what I say when the mother-in-law calls in. That's a fair shout, Connor. We always go with witch in our house. We don't go for dragon. We go for witch. But yeah, either or. We also have scrolling on here is a real pain in my bum. We have Kieran Bull. He says, thank goodness for that. Connor, I thought you were going to make a sex joke. Well, it's Connor. I mean, you've got to expect that. Whatever happens, really. We also have Mr. B. He says, hey, Nick and Sai. Hello, Mr. B. Thank you for joining us. We have Jonathan Redmond, Johnny Red. He says, evening all. Evening, mate. Good to see you in the chat. Thank you for popping along. Oh, who else have we got there? We have Rolando Flores. He's saying hello to everybody. Hello, Rolando. Thank you for coming along. And we also have, last but certainly not least, Uncle Keith Knight. He says, good evening, chaps. Good evening, Keith. Hello. See, did a little hello there. He'll know what that's about, and he'll call me a tosspot for it as well, I'm sure. But anyway, as other people come in and as you leave comments, I will address you all during the stream. But yeah, so I've given a brief rundown. This is me and Sai talking Enter the Dragon, but mainly this is Sai's chance to gush about why this is one of his favourite films. And I'm going to get straight into I'm going to get straight off the bat and say, Sai, this is one of Bruce Lee's most iconic, if not his most iconic films. When did you first see it? When did you first come across this film?
When I was a kid, I was about 8 years of age. I absolutely loved martial arts and martial arts movies, all the American Ninja films, all that sort of stuff in the 80s. And the first time I ever watched Enter the Dragon, I can honestly say, I just fell in love with it instantly. Instantly. I must have seen Enter the Dragon about 3,000 times. I watch it at least a good few times a year. I just love that film. It's super stylish. I love the way it's set in the 70s. You can feel that 70s vibe. And the martial arts in it, it's just a great movie. I just love it. Do you know what I mean? Came out in 73. So, you know, by the time I got round to seeing it, like the kung fu element of the late 70s and early 80s was massive. You know, all the lads doing martial arts, and Bruce Lee was such an icon back in them days. But I just loved it for what it was. So stylish.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, I mean, it kicked. Bruce Lee was a phenomenon, but this kicked off. Bruce Lee was famous in Hong Kong, and that for his previous films he'd done. But this was the big one, really. I mean, this was done. The company he'd made his other films with Golden Harvest, and Warner Brothers got involved. Big international release. Just to give you some boring facts and figures I got here, they made it on a budget of $850,000, which is low, even back in '73. So, and box office, I haven't adjusted this for inflation, but it took globally $90 million. That was the level of success of this film, man. Yeah, bringing in the big bunts. And it inspired. How many people did you know see a Bruce Lee film that they want to learn martial arts after that?
The thing is, Nick, I think he was such a spectacular that you didn't even look at. I mean, when you look back at Enter the Dragon now, that is a cheaply made film. You can see it. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's only like 3 sets in the whole movie, but it's that spectacular with the characters in it and the martial arts that they're doing through its time that you don't even think of budget. You don't even think of any of that with this film. No,
and considering it was such a low budget, it was directed by Robert Klaus. We were chatting off cam for me, and I watched this again last night to catch up. It's been a while since I've seen it. I would say the first time I saw it was probably around 98, 99, a bit later than yourself, Si. But I instantly fell in love with this film. I think then's when I saw it on VHS, and years later I picked it up on DVD. I believe I picked up an anniversary version because I'm sure there was a sticker on the front of the case saying that they'd added back in the infamous nunchuck scene, or nunchaku scene, the scene which was so bad. It was edited out for years. The nunchucks, man, I mean, changed so much in pop culture. Even like anyone here who knows me knows I'm a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle or Hero Turtles as I was growing up fan. Nunchucks were just banned. They were evil. And so they were cutting it out. But so yeah, I saw the film. I fell in love with it. And it hit for me. It was about the right time. It's that time of life where you're a teenager and you're sort of finding yourself in the world. And I must admit, it did make me want to go and learn martial arts. I mean, I ended up doing boxing instead, boxing is a martial art, but not that. And yeah, fantastic. But going back to what you said about the look of the film and how it looks a bit cheap, it does look a bit cheap, but I think they did well with the budget. I will go into the cast in a minute, but when you watched it, Si, did you notice that it's got a very overdubbed sound to it? Like when they're speaking. So,
but I think that was because to sell it back to the Asian audience, do you know, as well as I think that was.
Well, one of the reasons for that was because where it was made in Hong Kong, they used to record all their films with no sound. So that was just what they did. So everything was done, all the audio and all the Foley, all the sound effects and everything was recorded after. So when you're watching it, it's got that Hollywood look, but it's got that sort of that Asian cinema sound to it, and you can sort of hear it, and it's iconic. Because Carla watched it with me for the first time last night, and she was like, "Oh, was that really badly dubbed?" I was like, "What?" And so I told her everything I've just said there, and she was like, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah," but it gives it that really unique sound, and it's a sound of its time. And,
for me, that sort of it gave me a sense of to adapt to other Asian movies, though. When other Asian movies are overdubbed, a lot of anime is the same sort of voice sounding, over exuberant American accents. I thought, in a way, it sort of seamlessly sent me on the road to the others, because then it didn't seem a problem watching them. Do you know? For me, if I watch any Asian cinema, though, I like to watch it with subtitles. I like to see the original film. That's just the way I am. So even when they are dubbed like that, I do still prefer subtitles and the original
I must
voices,
admit
should we
that
say.
I personally struggle with subtitles because I'm not particularly quick at reading. You've only got to watch me, and I will come to the comments in a minute before we go into the cast. I struggle with reading on the go, but I wish I could keep up with it. But it's like Monkey Boy. I know for a fact that he will absolutely search out films, undubbed original with subtitles, and I know lots of people
Yeah.
are like that and I can see why people do it. It's only my reading limitation that stops me from doing that. But I remember first watching this, it was quite interesting to actually hear Bruce Lee's voice, because all the other films, like Big Boss and films that he'd done before, it was always like that really Americanized accent. So it was quite strange hearing it. But anyway, before I go too far, I am going to say hello to another arrival we've had in the chat. Coxie's Toy Canteen. He says, hi, chaps.
Coxie.
Hello, and thank you for coming along. Very good to see you, sir. Who else have we got here? Just to look at a couple of... I'm really sorry. I'm just going to be brutally honest here. I took a massive sip of Diet Pepsi a minute ago, and it's all just trying to come up. I'm like trying my best not to burp on camera, because we really don't need to hear that, do we? Let's have a look. Kieran Ball, Enter the Dragon was the last film Bruce Lee completed before his untimely death. He was, and we will go into that in a bit. Mr. B says, we ended up taking Taekwondo, then Kempo karate because of Bruce Lee. Yeah. And across the world, he inspired many, many people to take up martial arts. Kieran says, nunchucks and throwing stars are banned in the UK. However, in the 80s, people in the UK could still buy them through the post. Now, I don't really remember the 80s. Si, can you speak on that? Did you see any of that going on in the 80s?
Again, I was 10 in 85, so
okay.
Not the sense, but the band part of it is quite famous part of it, because I remember having like a pirate VHS that my dad had got from somewhere, and it had that nunchucker scene. So when DVDs came out and I went back to watch it again, thinking, oh, better quality, none of that scene was in it. Do you know what I mean? Originally, so eventually, when the Chinese got their own rule again and it all went back to normal, it's just one of the best scenes in any action movie. Brilliant.
Just want this comment from Coxie. Whenever I think of Enter the Dragon, it reminds me of the IT guy and Gareth in The Office. No, I haven't seen Bruce Lee fight Chuck Norris in Enter the Dragon. Love The Office. Love that bloody film. What's Connor say? Yeah, that's true. Overdubbed sound became a whole part of those movies. Absolutely. And it gives them that feel. It's part of it, isn't it? It just pulls you into that zone, doesn't it?
When you think about it, Nick, Police Academy was the 10 times, and Jones used to make a whole thing of that, doing the overdub scene when he'd do the karate scenes, and they were really funny, weren't they? And the way he'd do it was brilliant.
I think after Police Academy, we all tried to do that. And But that's how this stuff influenced pop culture, though. It bleeding into all these other films. What have we got here? I probably did it. Sorry, it says, doesn't sound familiar, but I probably did when I was younger. It's Mr. B comment. Sorry, when I'm reading stuff, I don't always see what came before. But we have had arrive another person here, Dark Lycan 81. Bazzy says, awesome movie. I 100% agree. And another man, a man who I know absolutely loves this movie. Vintage Toy Rush. Dave says, evening, love me some Brucey. I think we all love ourselves a bit of Brucey here. But let's take a little look at the cast. I keep saying I'm going to look at the cast, so let's have a look at the cast. So if I can click the right screen. So obviously we've got in the lead, we've got Bruce Lee. Iconic. But what an amazing set of co-stars he had with him. And I would say the two main co-stars were definitely John Saxon and Jim Kelly playing Roper and Williams. Yeah. As you can see, Williams is the chap with the afro, and Roper is the other guy next to him there. And to me, they are just as important in this film. They're integral parts to the film. Yeah. So, and what was it you said to me before this started, Si, about Jim Kelly?
Jim Kelly was like, he was the coolest guy ever. You see, when I was a kid at school, we'd all play Enter the Dragon. And this is what makes me laugh about the world today, when they keep beating this diverse drum and they keep telling us that we're all this and that, whatever. When I was a kid at school and we used to play Enter the Dragon in the playgrounds and stuff, you would not care any of these three guys you were. One was a black guy, one was an Asian guy, and one was a white guy. And if I had to be Mr. Williams, if I had to be Mr. Roper, if I had to be Bruce Lee, it would never bother me, because all three of them were the coolest cats going. Do you know what I mean? And
oh, absolutely.
the more older I get, the more cooler these look in this film. You know, normally you get older and you look at films back in the day and you're like, oh my God, like, but this to me, it just got cooler and cooler and cooler. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, when you listen to it now, the dialogue is of its time, but I would agree, Jim Kelly, or Williams, the character, he is hands down the coolest guy in the film. And it's such a shame. I mean, spoiler alert, all these years later, but he does die in the film. I'm sure everyone, but I was gutted that they killed him off in the film, but apparently that came about because John Saxon was really pissed off that he was supposed to die in the film. So his agent kicked off, and they rewrote it so that Jim Kelly's character Williams died. So that's why Williams ended up dying and getting beat up by Mr. Han in the film. But there is another cool backstory to Jim Kelly to back up how cool he is. Apparently, on set, he had a real appetite for the ladies. I mean, like, loved the ladies. And one thing about Enter the Dragon was there are some female adult workers in the film, shall we say. That's how I will word it. And they had to hire real ones because a lot of the Asian ladies, they didn't want to be portrayed as acting that part in an American film. So they actually got real workers in from that industry. But Jim Kelly had such an insatiable appetite that he ended up with an injury in his groin. He actually ended up with swollen nuts. And the scene where he's hanging over the acid bath, they had to adapt what was holding him over it because he couldn't have it wrapped around the groin like it would have been.
So cool, Jim Kelly in that film, though, isn't he? Do you have the line up? I'll have you, and you.
And it's when he says, sorry, words this vet, sorry if I've missed anyone. It's been a long day. I'm a little tired.
I'm a little tired. Yeah. Brilliant. Super cool.
And and I mean, you can't take away from Roper either or John Saxon, the actor's name. I mean, he's so cool in it. The scene where he's fighting and they've got that little thing going on with the guy in the audience, and he's a better. He's you know, in the film, he's on the run from the mafia. Probably worth saying that Williams is on the run because he's had a run-in with two cops who have been racist and that, and he's beat them up, rightly so, because they sort of come after him. So he's escaped to Mr. Han's event. But that bit where Roper he's taking those hits and he's purposely getting beat, and then he just beats the crap out of that guy. You see the guy just hand the money over.
I love the way that Mr. Williams all lets him get a kick in first, then he's like, not yet, you get a bit of a good hiding first, and then he goes to grab him. It's things like that just, I mean, it's a popcorn movie, you know, it's an hour and a half, it's not long at all, it's before, you know, it's over, but again, just a journey, an adventure film, you know, it's like what we said, I love the way that Bruce Lee at the beginning works for the British Secret Service. You know, it's the British Secret Service that want him to go in. So he's basically Bond. Do you know what I mean? So already I was like as a kid. Yeah.
There's definite vibes of Dr. No in this film for me. There's definite Bond vibes in this film. You know, Braithwaite, the English guy who comes and, you know, sort of gets Bruce on board, and I'll go into a bit more of the story in a bit. But while I've got this slide up, you can see I keep wanting to say Saxon instead of Roper. I'm going to get confused, so I may just continue using the character names. But you can see Roper up there, top right hand slide. He's fighting another chap there, and that guy is Bolo in the film. Now, listed on IMDb, his name is just down as Bolo Yang, and I can't find right now what his original name is. He was he was a massive bodybuilder who made friends with Bruce Lee, got a part in the film. But off the success of this film, he actually changed his name to Bolo. But what a hulking dude that guy is!
Yeah.
Especially when he beats up the guards who felled Mr. Ham. But other cast members I see someone else in the chat there say who was the leading lady in the film. That would be Anna Capri, the one who Roper goes off with. You know, he picks her rather than one of the girls, and she's like, good choice.
That's his whole eyebrow acting scene. That's what Mr. Roper acts in that scene. That's his eyebrow. I love that scene. Pick one. I already have. Wise decision. I love it. Yeah, brilliant.
She's fantastic. So me and Carla were watching it last night, and I said to Carla, Mrs. APD, I said, well, on Saturday, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll stick this on for me and Jax to watch because he loves a Bond film, and I've always thought this has got Bond vibes to it. He'll enjoy this. But then, of course, there's the scene later in the bedroom, and you get to see a bit of booby. I was like, probably good job that we didn't put this on for for Jax. I forgot all about those scenes until I rewatched it last night because it's been a few years.
It's not a gruesome movie, but it is adult. It is an adult film.
It is adult. It's got gore of its time. It's got some very pretty ladies in it. It's got drug use in it as well, which was heroin use, which was bold for its time as well. I think that was bold for its time. So,
and the bolds of it, like you say, it's all about human trafficking, and it's all about opium trafficking, and it's all about trying to get these drugs into the Western world. And it does have a severe adult tone in it, but without the over course of being graphic in a sense, if you'll have me.
Well, it's like when Bruce says in the film, and Bruce's character in the film is simply called Lee. What's it? He says something. He says to Braithwaite, "Why not just take him out with a 45, pow, or whatever he says?" And he's like, "No." And it's when Braithwaite says, "We know everything, but we can prove nothing." So this is the whole thing of Bruce going in. So he really does go from being like a Shaolin monk to
but again, that goes back to the British relationship with China at the time, that they couldn't just go in and they couldn't just say, right, we know what's going on here. There'd have been a lot of political debate over that. So like a James Bond, they have to send somebody in to make sure once he's in, sends a tap message, they all come flooding. Do you know what I mean? But I love the end when they all come flooding. It's all like martial artists. Always made me laugh. It's not the army or anything. All these martial arts dudes that come, it's always made me laugh.
Absolutely. I'd already touched on Bolo there, the guy stood next to Bruce Lee in the white trousers. You've got Mr. Han there. Who else he was played by, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names, Shin Kane. He established martial artist himself, had big fame. I think he's exceptional in this film. I think his scene when he's fighting Williams, I mean, although it sucks to see Williams lose, it's interesting to see. You think he's sort of just this old man, he's not, but that's when you really see the badass in him. That's when you see just how formidable he is. But of course, you're made aware earlier in the film that he's trained as a Shaolin monk. He's brought dishonor to the temple, which is one of the other reasons Bruce goes in. Of course, there was another lady in the film called Angela Mao. She played Su Lin, Bruce Lee's sister in the film. And this is the other subplot in the film. She ends up committing suicide because Mr. Han's men attack her. And the guy who goes after it is the big bodyguard, O'Hara, with the big facial scar. And then you get to learn that it's not Lee's sister who gave it. It's her minder who tells Bruce the story. But Angela Mao, she was a star in martial arts films herself. So this was action. This was absolutely packed with fantastic actresses and whatnot. So just to go through some other cast members. Sorry, who else have we got here? I mean, that's your main cast, but there's also appearances in it from people like, you see a very young Jackie Chan in this film.
Yeah. He's in the scenes fighting and running after his sister. Again, if you blink, you'll miss him, but he's there. He's definitely there.
Yeah, and Bruce, I believe he's... I don't remember seeing him in the scene chasing after his sister. I'm sure he was, because you can see through the film they've used multiple extras. But there is the scene, I believe he comes up behind Bruce and he snaps his neck, I think. But you can very clearly see at that point it is Jackie Chan. But apparently Jackie Chan got a little bit hurt in one of those scenes and played on it a bit. And he got a consolation hug from Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee was a hero to him even then. Yeah. And let's be fair, Bruce Lee, if not for Bruce Lee and films like this, would we have the Jackie Chan films? I dare say Jackie Chan would have had a career in Hong Kong, but the big American films, your Rush Hours, films like that, I think this film opened the door for many of these films, you know, like Jet Li. Jet Li was a crossover into American film. So
when Bruce Lee was seen, Nick, you've got to remember back in it, he was a phenomenon. When you look at icons as Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, James Dean, Bruce Lee's up there with that lot. And it doesn't matter how old, or what generation, or how times passes, a Bruce Lee image will always be as iconic as Marilyn Monroe. How many, like I said, there's a handful that can do that. Do you know what I mean? And he'll never be forgotten. Is he the world's greatest martial artist? No. Do you know what I mean? Not by a long shot. Jackie Chan's movies absolutely blew me away, twice as much as any Bruce Lee movie did. But as that iconic, as the Iron Monkey, you'll never beat Bruce Lee. You just won't.
No, Bruce Lee. I mean, to look at the picture in the background and to say there will be an art giveaway tonight. I know this isn't the exact picture, but if I bring up this slide here and you see Bruce with those scratches on him. Now, there is a picture, I'm a big boxing fan, of Muhammad Ali in the ring. He's knocked the guy down, and that's this iconic picture. For me, Bruce with those scratches in the pose of the picture you've drawn is just as iconic in pop culture. With the scratches and that. Mm. And this picture will still be floating around in 100 years' time, providing we haven't all wiped ourselves off the face of the earth. This is...
Yeah. And that's it. He's up there with the icons. He's up there with the biggest and best. It's not really about the martial arts presence he had. It's about what he brought to the cinema for that whole style. And, in a long ways, I don't know if we're going to get into that for the such of it, but I believe that's what cost him his life. Do I believe he died in suspicious circumstances? Massively. I always have done. Same for his son. He was told over and over and over from ancient families, don't teach this style to Westerners. And he wouldn't listen because it was so impressive. And if you think about it, an Asian guy at the time in the 70s in America, they must have thrown that amount of money at him for what he could do and what he was, that he probably just thought, this is...
I think the film Dragon, which was the biography or whatever you call it of his life, does go into the family curse. Now, the official, I have to say, because I've got to be fair, the official cause of death, I believe Linda Lee said that it was swelling of the brain from medication or painkillers he took. So that's the official on record cause of death. But going away from that for just a moment, we will come back to his death. Bruce, there is one other big unfortunate thing about this film, something that I find really tragically sad for Bruce, sticking around him dying. I believe it was only 6 days before the release of the film that Bruce actually passed away. So he didn't get to see the premiere of this film.
Wow.
Which is really tragic and sad when you think about it, because this was the big one, even to the point he had to fight really hard with the studio execs and Warner Brothers, because I believe they wanted to call the film Blood and Steel. And Bruce had a really big worry that what they would try and do, and this is things they've done, is that they would try and re-edit the film in America to make John Saxon, the Roper character, the lead guy, and he didn't want that. But other things that surrounded the film for Bruce, they also had to delay filming for quite a few days and do pickup shots because Bruce was having massive bouts of anxiety before the film. There was a lot of pressure on him for this.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, what makes this even more sad, that he passed away before he could see just how much of a worldwide phenomenon this was.
It does make me think, like if he would have been alive, would he have been Mr. Miyagi? Would he have played certain roles going into a certain time? Karate Kid was only, 10 years after? Do you know what I mean? And it makes you think, would these roles have gone to people like Bruce Lee, where he was established? What films would he have made? Do you know, like I wrote in the chat before, I mean, I saw in the chat before about Bolo being in other films. He starred in a couple of Van Damme movies. Would that have been Bruce Lee? Would he have been the big bad? Would he have gone on to Mortal Kombat and things like that? Would he have had these things earlier? So it's like the death of John Lennon, isn't it? You don't know. When legends die like that, you just got to imagine their own future, haven't you?
Take it to another musician. You know, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain.
Yeah,
he has gone down as a generational great, a great, and deservedly so. Fantastic music, but had he have not passed away, what would it have been? What would we have got? Would he have remained? Would he be now seen as the star is? I mean, I believe Bruce will have always been. If Bruce was still alive today, I think because I believe he'd be right in his 80s now if he was alive. I think Bruce would always be seen as a legend. Now, before we go into any other chatty bits, I'm just going to have a little look at the comments. I'm sorry, guys, if I'm taking the time to read the comments. We've had some trolls on some streams, and I've got a bad habit of just starting reading comments out. So, yeah. So what's Kieran Ball got here? Rumor has it that Rod Taylor was the original choice for Roper, but Bruce didn't like him being so much taller. They brought in John Saxon instead. Well, that's interesting. I haven't come across that myself, but it doesn't surprise me because I've done a bit of research into this, and it's vast. Like anything, there's so much around this. I've just skimmed the surface. I've skimmed the surface of the few facts I know and just got a few backup things and notes here to help assist me with this. We've also had another arrival. It's our G-Force. He says, hey, APD and Cy, and he's also saying hello to absolutely everyone in the chat. We've also had Pod Racing Palpatine. Palps, hello, mate. Unlimited power. That was probably my worst impression ever. X Live X. I wonder what kind of sandwich Bruce Lee liked. Well, guys, if you've got any ideas, pop it in the comments section. I'll happily read it out. And anyway, thank you for joining us, X Live X. So, who else have we got in? Mr. Reynolds, Agent Reynolds. Mr. Han, suddenly, I'd like to leave your island. Yeah, back to a Williams scene before the fight with Mr. Han. And
I always felt dead sorry for that bit, though, because, like, he does see him outside. A human fly. He sees him, but he doesn't say. You know, he's so loyal that when he comes back in and he goes, yeah, I'm not the only one. Who was it then? I'd like to leave. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you who it was. It cost him his own life, but I always thought that death was a bit pointless. It wasn't pointless in a way of showing Roper, this is what's going to happen if you don't go along with us. But it was pointless that it was only like 20 minutes away from the ending of the film, and they still get away with it all anyway. So why really kill him off in a sense? It always annoyed me.
And I get what you're saying there, 100%. And Kieran Ball's cleared it up for me. Young C is better known as Bolo Yang, also in Bloodsport and Double. Yeah, thank you for that, mate. Because I've just got the IMDb page open here, just so I can quickly flick at the cast. Because I got a memory like a sieve. There's a huge cast on this film, but I have just stuck to the main guys. But thank you for that. We have Vader's Girl. Yeah. Hey, Cy, hey, Nick, hey, Kat, thanks for coming along. Always good to see
you.
Only
Vader's Girl. She changed it round. Only Vader's Girl.
I think there was some issues with her channel and some numpty trying to hack her channel, so I believe Kat had to change it around or something or other. But it's still our Kat. It's still Vader's Girl 28 to me. And what else have we got here? VTR says, love Han's voice. He did have a cool voice, didn't he?
Yeah.
Very cool voice. He's just, see, Mr. Han, he's as a bad guy. He's just awesome. And when you find out that his hand attaches, when he's got that club hand, you know, and then he can take it off and switch it for other hands.
When you walk past all the cabinets, you see all the different ones, the claw, you see the chicken hand, you see all the different ones he's got. And when he picks up, like, as a kid, like loving comics and X-Men and stuff, when he picks up like the sort of Wolverine one, you're like, oh, yeah, this is meant.
Tell you what, Kieran coming in with the facts tonight. I'm loving it. We're going to have to get Kieran on a stream, mate, because he knows his stuff. He says Mr. Ham was dubbed by actor Kay Luke, who played Kato in the original Green Hornet in the 40s and Master Po in Kung Fu TV show. Now, that's an awesome fact.
Yeah.
You do know your stuff, Kieran, and thank you so much for putting these. See, it makes it, when you've got the chat contributing as well, all these little facts and things are awesome. Now, let's have a look. I'm just reading this. G4 says, could you imagine Chuck Norris' ego if Bruce Lee never made movies? Well, you see, I think, I believe that Bruce Lee's success was success for all of these guys, as I said before. Chuck Norris was a legit martial artist. I believe he fought in actual karate competitions, didn't he? I know this is a...
Yeah, he was an art dude, wasn't he?
Proper hard man. Like, not just a screen guy. I'm not saying Bruce is just a screen guy. I'm just saying Chuck had that... Chuck
but I would
formidable.
say that Chuck Norris also didn't really need Bruce Lee's background for his own career, did he? I mean, Chuck Norris became a big star on his own accord, didn't he, really?
Well, the one thing Chuck, I mean, to be fair, actually, and you make a good point, one thing that Chuck would have had on his side was that he was an American guy. So he could have been an action hero anyway. He wouldn't have had the struggles to break through. It's a fair point you make. He wouldn't have had the struggles to break through like Bruce did into the American market.
Yeah.
I mean, I dare say Bruce's success helped all the martial arts films, because what happens when you get one martial art, people follow a trend. But yeah, Chuck would, he certainly, he had his own career, and that's a stream and a story all for itself. What's Connor put in here? Side question. What did you make of Brad Pitt's character beating up Bruce Lee in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Was it disrespectful to his legacy? Okay. To be honest, I believe the guy Brad Pitt is playing in that film is based on Gene LaBelle, who was, I mean, he's passed away now, super hard guy. I think legend has it that he choked out Steven Seagal, made him basically crap his pants once. I don't really see it as disrespectful. The thing is, in that fight, you don't get to see the end of it. You get to see two guys having a dust up. Obviously, he first of all kicks down his character, then Brad Pitt's character throws him into the car and the guy comes out. But it's that film, to me, it's not the way that film is. It's based on real events, but goes completely false and different, and then it completely changes history. So for me, no, but I do know that film did cause a lot of controversy with Bruce Lee fans, and I think his family were really pissed off about it as well. Do you know the film I mean? He means
yeah, I know exactly the thing you mean as well. But the thing is, there's a book, and it's by Jackie Chan, and it's called Pure Mind. It's his autobiography written by Jackie Chan. It's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. And there's a lot of scenes where he goes on about Bruce Lee in the background, that Bruce Lee in real life wasn't an easy guy to get along with. He was quite ignorant. He was really obnoxious, and it'd always be like that. And a lot of people, suppose it's like if you're in a security world or you're in the boxing world, Nick, or wrestling, same for Kung Fu. There's always guys that want to have a test of you. That's what the world they're in. They look at you, they want to test you. And apparently Bruce Lee got tested a few times, and apparently not every time it went Bruce Lee's way. Now, Jackie Chan tells a few stories, and he never tells you what the answer was, but you basically know that few of these other co-stars Bruce Lee worked with, they would get tethered with him, and they'd go off and be honest, right, do you want to have a fight in here? And they'd go into some little room or some hut or somewhere, and they'd both come out, and they'd never say you won. But Jackie Chan used to always basically say, we knew it was the other guy, it wasn't necessarily Bruce Lee.
Well, I guess that, I mean, sorry to take this to boxing, but in boxing, there's a thing where what happens in the gym stays in the gym. If you knock out the world champ, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut. It's sparring. And some boxers these days, I mean, it's going on with the current big fight that's on this weekend. Dubois saying that he hurt AJ in a spar and whatnot. That's actually considered really disrespectful. So I imagine it's the same sort of code of conduct they would have had. We're going to have our scrap, but we're not going to diminish each other's reputation. We're going to sort out our issue. And it's for everyone else to decide.
To bring Bruce Lee back in a major motion picture and portray him that way. But on the flip side, that's how he was. So in a way, it's like, it's funny. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't expect that with Bruce Lee. It's like everybody, you get that image in your head. He's the world's hardest martial artist. Is he? I don't think he is. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think he was at the time, but his portrayal and his whole look and his style was just second to none. You couldn't beat that.
I think you've got to look at all these things with Bruce Lee as a pioneer. Some people even credit Jeet Kune Do, his style he developed, as being almost a blueprint for what we know as mixed martial arts today. Because, he took the nonsense out of it and made it an effective fighting form. So Bruce Lee, credit has to go to Bruce Lee for so many things. Bruce Lee, we have to give him credit. We must give him respect. But the reality of it is, if Bruce, to me, I mean, I don't know the guy. I don't have a time machine. I never knew the guy. He was gone 11 years before I was born. So I can only go by the stories that people tell about him. But I can imagine that his obnoxiousness and everything may have been almost an armor he had to put up. Hollywood, man, being the Asian guy, going into Hollywood, everyone, because back onto Enter the Dragon, there are stories of people in the set, the extras, heckling him, basically challenging him, taking the piss out of him, going, "You're not the hard man you say you are." And apparently on a couple of occasions, Bruce did whoop a couple of asses, and just enough to show, whoa, wind your neck in and be respectful. So it's going to be, regardless of how beatable, unbeatable, who he's fought, lost to, whatnot. I know from being online and enjoying all my combat sports, as you know I do, Si, very divisive subject about Bruce Lee and how effective he would be in the real world. But passing from that, it is, however you look at it, whatever your thoughts are on it, as you say, being that guy, being that name, being that legend, you got a target on your back constantly. So,
but I suppose it's like the arrogancy, the obnoxiousness of it all. It comes with the character. I've never met an unarrogant heavyweight champion. Do you understand what I mean? I think when you've got, look how Nassim Hamed was back in the day.
But he could back it up.
Guy on the planet, but when he got in that ring, he was outstanding. Do you know what I mean? Does that say he was the greatest boxer of the time, the hardest puncher of the time? It went down in legacy. No. But the personality and the style of this character, you'll never forget. I'll never forget. Do you know what I mean?
Interestingly, tonight, and I don't want to make this a boxing stream, but listening to Anthony Joshua in the presser tonight, he said that it's not all about strength to win a fight. And it's those sort of lessons and things that you would hear from Bruce Lee. It's not all about... It's not all about the size of the dog. I guess it's that saying, it's not the size of the dog, it's the size of the fight and the dog. It's everything. There's many contributing factors to it. And however Bruce is remembered today, and well, he is remembered as a legend, and I think we will keep touching back on this. This guy, what a phenomenal career, what a phenomenal legacy. The fact that two randos are sat on the internet tonight discussing a film from 1973 and all these people are here with great memories of it. It's absolutely incredible. Si, do you mind if I dip into the comments again before I jump into a couple of more bits I want to go over?
Dive in.
But yeah, no. So Connor, to your question, that was a very long-winded way of saying, I don't think it's disrespectful. I kind of see what they were doing. But I can see why people would have been pissed off. Kieran Ball says, in my opinion, yes, Connor. But there you go. It's all different views, all different perspectives in the world. We've all got a different view on these things. Yeah. TJC says, I have an uncut version on DVD. In the extras, that has all the film footage Bruce had done of his film Game of Death. Yeah, well, Game of Death was sadly never really fit. They had to finish it with body extras and some then quite dodgy effects and actual scenes, I believe, of his real life funeral. But I mean, I believe that in post-production of Enter the Dragon, before it was released, Bruce was already working on Game of Death. It had been going on for quite some time. We've also been joined this evening by Mrs. S, which is our Vic Squires. The green uns will make you badly. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, watch the episode of Live and Moderately Entertaining about Chris, because Vic does a 1 minute segment on crisps. And it's hilarious. And I have put subtitles on it as well for those who struggle with real northern accents. What's G said here? Would Shao Kasugi have had a career? All these ninja movies? Well, we possibly not. Possibly not.
No,
I mean,
I think there's always one that introduces it to you. I mean, obviously there was films around like that at the time, but there's always that one film that introduces you to. Like, would you argue that Star Wars introduced most people of my generation to science fiction? I would. Do you know what I mean? I would say that got me into things like Star Trek, and that got me into things like all science fiction TV shows, Alien, He-Man, the old Spawn film.
There's always inspirations, because you can go back from Star Wars and look at the cinema serials of the old 1940s Flash Gordon films, which George Lucas was heavily inspired by with the, you know, so everything leads on from something ultimately for inspiration. But yeah, definitely for your generation, even my generation, Star Wars is the sci-fi film, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Always comes back to Star Wars, doesn't it? You never escape Star Wars.
I don't suppose you can escape Star Wars though when you're talking cinema. Do you know what I mean? Because there is a limit. You know, Star Wars to me is like the Beatles of music. You can't really be involved in the top 10, Nick, because they're the fucking Beatles. How can you involve them in the top 10? You can't do. And it's a bit like that original trilogy of Star Wars. That as a kid, you watch so many amazing stuff in the 80s, but anything as good as Return of the Jedi, I don't think so.
So let me pose a question. Let me pose a question to you, Si, then. If we're going to be looking at the martial arts films and the inspiration that, you know, kicking off from Bruce Lee and all the films and that have been inspired by, let's look at the character Darth Maul in Episode 1. Martial artist.
Again, first time I saw a Jedi, a Sith Lord, so he would like fight like martial arts. Yeah.
Popular without the likes of Bruce Lee. So we can look, this bleeds into pop culture everywhere.
Yeah, well, even today, Nick, every Avengers movie, martial arts scenes. Every Batman film, martial arts scenes. Do you know, every James Bond film, martial arts scenes.
Oh, I mean, even to the point of Roger Moore was doing straight up karate in some of the Bond films. You know, you know, it's this bled out, and this touched everything, and this still does today. I mean, you're a big Batman fan. Look at the Batman Begins movie where they're there in that temple training the monks.
Basically ninjas. League of Assassins.
Remind you of anything?
Yeah.
You know, it's all there, isn't it? What else have we got here? Coxie says, you know Bruce Lee is still alive, right? Yeah, he faked his own death to work for the Hong Kong police infiltrating the triads. IT guy from the Oh, yes, I remember that bit. Yeah, sorry, it took a while for my brain to click there. Sorry, it's because I have to be so cautious reading these comments out. Sorry if you can hear a wheeze there. My voice decided to sound like a recorder then as I breathed in. Fantastic. Vic Squire says, what about the version of Bruce Lee on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Yeah, we did just briefly touch on that. We did, but I don't want you to think we're ignoring you, Vic. What we got here. Mrs. S. Tarantino got slated a lot for him beating up Clint on the set. His family really were not pleased how he was portrayed. But
yeah, well, I suppose it wouldn't be all these years later. The memory lives on of Bruce Lee, and that's how he is portrayed in the film. But for me, and what I know and what I've read, in my opinion, in a small sense, that's how he was. He was that arrogant, you know.
But to go
and when you think that the film was about American stuntmen, they are going to knock him around a bit, aren't they? Do you know?
I mean, Coxie says here, yeah, agree, APD. Tarantino film is all surreal events loosely based on real events. I don't think it should be taken seriously. The main characters are not even real. It is just a hyper-realistic, unrealistic, I don't even know how to put it. It's, you know, if you've seen Inglourious Bastards, look at how that ends. It's obviously based on Second World War events, but it doesn't end. That's not how the war ended. That's not how Hitler's demise came around, you know. That's kind of just how I look at it, you know. Kieran Ball says, hit that like button, you Muppets. Yes, if you are here and you would like to hit the like button, I would really appreciate that. This evening, I did have to set it that people had to be subbed to the channel for at least 1 minute before they could comment due to troll issues that we have had. So apologies for having to do that. But if you are here and you haven't subbed and you like what you're hearing, please feel free to give us a sub. It's always good to have you along for the ride. We've got G-Force here. He says, Jeet-Kune-Do is a mixture of Kempo, Wing Chun, Tai Chi, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu and fencing. I'm surprised I could read and pronounce all of those words.
I'm surprised it's the same menu as what I got from the Chinese the other night.
Well, I'm surprised, given how I actually struggle with reading some of these things, that I could read those words better than I could read. Yes, Mr. B. Be like water. Absolutely. Jeet-Kune-Do, Way of the Incept and Fist. What's Vic say here? Wasn't all the Kung Fu stuff always on Tuesday night after 6? I don't know what on TV? Can you elaborate? Oh, she says on BBC Two. I don't remember that, Vic. But if anyone else,
she's on about Monkey Magic that used to be on after 6 o'clock on BBC Two. So I think if I'm right, you mean Monkey Magic?
Yeah, that's something. The synaptic parts of my brain are firing now, quite possibly. What's it say here? Kieran Ball. Bruce Lee would have made a great Obi-Wan or Yoda.
But again, that's what I was saying, Kieran. Would he have spawned into like these? Would he have been a Mr. Miyagi, an Obi-Wan, a Yoda character? Would he have been in the Marvel films? And makes you think, doesn't it, where his career would have gone? Because look at the explosion of martial arts movies in the 80s. Massive. One of the biggest industries in movie cinema at the time. So many martial arts movies spawned so many martial arts stars. And where would he have been in all that lot, Nick? Where would he have been?
Sorry, just had to have a very loud cough and a sip of fizzy drink, which is just the thing you need to, stop a cough. Sorry, and I'm really self-conscious of mouth noise. I had like a load of teeth and work done recently, and I've brought this up before, and of course through my monitors I can hear everything, so I apologise. I really can't help it because I'm missing half my teeth back here. Who else have we had in? Darth Wizzy Wizard. Hello Wizzy. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for popping along.
Wizzy. I'd just like to say thanks to Wiz. He just sent me 2 nice figures through the post all the way from Canada. Sent me 2 Return of the Jedi TVC. Thanks very much.
Wicked. Oh, yeah, no, wicked. Yeah, sorry. I was just I didn't mean to seem dismissive of that. I was trying to read the comments at the same time. But, right, so we're to the end of the comments. Let's have a look at what I got on my notes. What other things was I going to sort of bring up? So, of course, yeah, other films Bruce had been in, The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, and Game of Death, which was, as we know, unfinished, but they finished it later on. So that one came after. The fact that Bruce never got to see the premiere of Enter the Dragon, again, I think is very sad. And the fact he never got to finish Game of Death is also extremely sad, because the version of Game of Death that went out, I know this is an Enter the Dragon stream, but from what I understand is it's edited to be a very different film to what it was originally meant to be.
Yeah, so I think it was just a case of, again, the success of Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee had half done this movie, get it out. I never liked Game of Death. I always thought it was just stuff. And it's funny because as a kid when I watched it, I never really knew all this about Bruce Lee not being in it and halfway, because I used to think, how's he hardly in it? And like halfway through it, and so it was never a big film of mine. Then on Strictly. Guilty pleasure of mine, Strictly. I love Strictly. Watch it every week.
Imagine the footwork he could have pulled off. But it's quite nice tonight, because on the last stream I did, Dave kept hitting us with sobering facts and then saying, "Happy Saturday, everyone." So yeah, there's that. But we went in earlier. We sort of touched on it. We touched on how I've written some notes here about how it reminds me of James Bond, particularly Dr. No. Another note, spaghetti westerns, and how sort of Bruce Lee's charisma as the one-man person, his persona, striking resemblance of Clint Eastwood's hero characters. I wrote that down and I've read that really badly. So yeah, to that point of what I'm saying, Bruce Lee in this film, I know he's got the other characters, but it is interesting to see him as, I don't know if you can see it or not, Si, the Do you get where I'm coming from with the sort of Clint Eastwood connection, that sort of lone warrior in the world? I mean, I know it's a very different type of actor, but the persona.
Again,
So,
you look at Clint Eastwood in them sort of movies, and he is basically, even though like there's others that help him and stuff, and they go along with it all, it's basically his films like it is with this one. Like, you've got a sense in Enter the Dragon that if it all goes wrong, it's not going to go wrong with Bruce Lee. Do you know what I mean? There's just that sense of him. Oh, have we lost you, Nick?
No. I was just having a real ugly cough, so I thought people don't need to see it and or hear it. So, but there were some injuries on the set as well. There were a few things that happened going back into Enter the Dragon, things I found out. So the scene where O'Hara's got the bottles and he charges at him, the broken bottles, apparently Bruce was goading on the actor saying, "Come at me as fast as you can, come at me as fast as you can." And in one of the takes, he just got a bit too close, and Bruce ended up having his knuckles completely slashed and having to have quite a few stitches.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. And
I wonder if that's why we changed it, because when you see it now in the film, the scene, when he comes through, he actually kicks it out of his hands. He kicks one arm, which falls into the other one. So I wonder if the original scene then, Nick, was a thrown punch and it gashes him. He couldn't film that bit, then after that to carry it on, and it changed to a kick.
Well, yeah, apparently, I wrote down here, apparently he also broke Bob Ball's ribs from that kick. Bruce Lee broke his ribs. So
that's a long one, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to think. And quite a few of the extras all got, when you got that many people fighting, there's going to be kicks and things that don't land right and people who go in a little bit hard. But I still think my favourite injury of it is the one I mentioned earlier, which is the swollen nether regions from.
Yeah, and nothing to do with martial arts. Well, sort of martial arts.
Well, so we touched on it. We touched on it earlier. Bruce Lee, the nunchaku scene. So I just want to talk about that for a little bit more. Watching it back last night for the first time in a while, do you think they overreacted a little bit, the censors on that, taking it out? Because watching it,
massive. You come from a time of war films, Nick, of swords and sorcery, of Robin Hood, we've seen archeries, we've seen arrows going people, we've seen all sorts of stuff. This is basically 2 blocks of wood on a chain, but it's the style how they were used, and with it being, again, China at the time, and all ninjutsu weapons were banned. Throw stars were, nunchucks were, a lot of things were. So, but always funny how they left it in the Turtles, but called it Hero, but he still had his nunchuckers. He still had them.
Well, yeah. Well, just because I've covered more Turtles stuff on this channel than ever, and my brain is in fact, I nearly killed poor Kim Gonick with Turtles Overload. You know, they were so opposed to nunchucks in this country that the production company, when they would do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, they would have to edit out all the scenes with Michelangelo with the nunchucks for the UK version. We called it Hero as well, because apparently Ninja was bad over here in the 90s, the late 80s, early 90s. So that's why we know it as Hero Turtles, or at least for a while. But it became so bad that that's one of the reasons why Michelangelo in later seasons had that like grappling hook thing, because they were like, "Oh, sod this. This is becoming too much work to basically edit 2 cartoons." So they've just stayed on his belt and he never used them.
Right. Yeah, so then that's how they could get away with that. It wasn't an offensive weapon because it was never used, you know. So.
And I do believe Bruce Lee basically got all the blame for that because of these nunchuck scenes.
But again, that whole scene, even without the nunchuck scene, when I saw it for years without, it's one of the most filmatic, stylish scenes I've ever seen. Like the camera goes to the shots of the end of the bow and the end of the sticks and the end of like the nunchucks, and it's just amazing how it's done. You know, I've watched that scene so many times. Bruce Lee knocks out 56 men on his own in that whole scene. 56 on his own. And it's just amazing that when he picks up the staff, picks up the sticks, picks up the nunchucks, you're like, whatever he gets his hands on, you lot are going to get leathered. You know what I mean? He just had that imposement, didn't he? Like, it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. It the fight choreography in that film, all done by Bruce Lee, by the way. Bruce Lee was really, really strict about the fight choreography. He oversaw every little detail of it because, of course, he's wanting to showcase his art as well. What a hell of a load of decent choreography. Yeah, sorry, my brain went half reading comments, half reading notes. Apologies. What do you think of the fighting scenes in the film this time? Some of the bits that I found quite interesting, you know the bits where the camera's directly on the person and you see them striking at the camera and all this stuff? I thought that was quite cool, but I also now seen that in a lot of other films. And I don't know if that was, would you say that was the way that Bruce Lee choreographed and came up with these scenes? Because though he didn't direct the film, he was massively involved with every aspect of the film. Do you think that these scenes have, of course, all the martial arts has bled into all these other films and inspired that, but do you think the way this was filmed has inspired the way that future films have been done?
100%. And if you also look at Bruce Lee's style, the way he was, the way he danced about in Enter the Dragon, there's a lot of boxing style involved, a lot. And I think that he filmed some scenes sort of that way, Nick, because if you notice, they're all the boxing scenes, one with Mr. Roper, and it's close, you're in the eyes of the other. And I think the Western style of boxing was heavily influenced with Bruce Lee, I really do. I think that's why he filmed certain scenes in a relatable way. You know, all the kick scenes, all the roundhouse scenes, they're all long shots. But this, for once, he was in the eye of the other, do you know? Film like a boxing fight, film like a boxing scene. And I just think he was heavily influenced by that.
Yeah, so other things, another thing I wanted to go into as well was, away from the choreography, is it is considered that this was what is considered the first film that was co-produced by a major Hollywood studio and a Hong Kong studio. So that was groundbreaking at the time. And I say everything comes back to Star Wars, but let's go back to Turtles again. So if you look at the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, that was Golden Harvest with another American company. So
yeah, I love that Turtles film.
A fantastic film. But let's look at that co-production, that working, and then that relationship led to these companies working together in the future and us getting films like that. So this film is inspirational and changed a lot for Hollywood and film forever. And I don't think it can be I think you'd be wrong to underestimate just how much this film changed the landscape for so many things, just outside of the martial arts.
Well, Nick, you tell me one game you've ever played from the 80s of any martial arts game on any console that doesn't have a Bruce Lee character. Not one. Not one.
Well, now you've gone there. One of the notes I was going to bring up, something I wanted to discuss, is let's look at the Tekken game series. Is that or is that not? I don't think you can deny that martial law in that game is Bruce Lee, and the whole tournament thing, the Tekken tournament, it's inspired by this.
It's got to be. And when you look at all the, I mean, again, through all the entire Tekken series, they've had every single outfit on that Bruce Lee wore, even though he's martial law and he's got his son now and everything. Not officially.
Forrest Law, I think, was his son.
Yeah, Forrest.
But yeah.
Same haircut, same noises, same style of fighting, same outfit, same everything.
The yellow bodysuit. You could, I mean, even one of the other characters, Lee something or other, looks like Jackie Chan. You know, it's all.
Yeah, Lee Fei Wong.
That's the one. Thank you.
The policeman, But again, he's a policeman, police story, Jackie Chan. It's probably, and that sort of fighting style. But again, that iconicness of him, I mean, it wasn't the first time people saw Bruce Lee. You know, there's a good few films before Enter the Dragon, but I think it was that one. It was that Western influence that made people like sort of watch this, and everyone wanted to do martial arts after, didn't they?
100%. I mean, I did list what his other. I mean, Bruce Lee's been in lots of other films, but sticking to his main martial art movies, The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, the films that came, the martial arts films that came before this, although these were popular in America and that, they were still considered sort of, they didn't have the same, they were more, it was for people, it was foreign films, which they were, but people didn't, they were popular, but it was more of a cult following, whereas this really brought it into the mainstream. From what I can work out and what I can see, this is the one that blew through it all. So, really.
And that stigma, in a sense, is still here. There's still a lot of Asian cinema, a lot of manga, a lot of anime that has to be westernized to be shown here. And I've never really been a fan of that. I've more been a fan of the different cultures and stories that we get from around the world. And, you know, funny enough, it's still sort of, I mean, it's a lot more lapsed now, you know, but it's not what it should be. Some of the greatest films and stories and action films you'll ever see are from Asian cinema. The greatest.
And it's interesting because this film, people who starred in this film, just to go, I wrote some notes on some of the main characters, you know, and things they did afterwards. But I mean, John Saxon, of course, one of his notable roles is the dad in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, Elm Street, yeah, played Nancy's dad, yeah. And that's what means for me, he was the star at the time because he was in Wonder Woman, the TV show. He was Nancy's dad. He was always around, John Saxon. Do you know, for me as a kid, age 9, 10, he was always on the telly and stuff. So he felt like the big star in Enter the Dragon, and he probably was. He was probably the guy that sold it to, because Jim Kelly was his first film. Even though he was a martial arts champion, this was his first acting role.
Well, I believe that's one of... Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that's one of the reasons Bruce Lee was really adamant and really kept an eye on him and wanted the name Enter the Dragon, not like Blood and Steel, because he was, as I said earlier, he was genuinely concerned, Warner Brothers, with other scenes that had hit the editing room floor and whatnot, was going to re-edit the film to make John Saxon the lead man in this film. He was genuinely concerned because things like this had happened before. And of course, you know, Bruce had lost out to other iconic roles to other people. Going on to Jim Kelly, he starred in film. He starred in Black Belt, Jones, and Free the Hard Way. I've not seen either of these. Have you seen these?
No. I think I've seen Black Belt Jones, but again, not for years if I have. Well, that just rung a bell. And I probably did as a kid because, like I said, I was obsessed by this movie, obsessed.
It says in my notes that, sorry that I'm just referencing my notes, but to remember all this would be almost impossible. Shinkain, he carried on working in martial arts films. He was already a star, basically. Carried on his career doing that. Bob Wool became an accomplished martial artist and appeared in several other films, including The Game of Death. So yeah, he went on to to play a role in The Game of Death, the uncompleted film. And Angela Mao, well, she was a star of her own right, and she was known as Lady Kung Fu. So
yeah,
there's people these people did go on and have amazing careers and were well regarded. So it's good to see that. For me, it's good to see because this is a film from an era which I haven't seen. Obviously, people go Star Wars. I haven't seen as many 70s films as I would like, but it's good to know that these people still had good, thriving careers after this film and went on to do other things, you know. So
yeah. I just think it was nice that it was something a bit different. 70s were always like cop films, weren't they? And the gritty Chicago cop dramas and like Gene Hackman movies. And then all of a sudden you got Star Wars, you got Jaws, Enter the Dragon. There was only sporadic ones at the time, but I think it was that build-up that just made the 80s explode. Do you know what I mean? I do believe it was them sort of build-up with movies.
Oh, absolutely. So what I want to do now is I want to jump back into the comments quickly because we got a chatty bunch in, and I do love it when we've got a chatty bunch because it does give me a break from reading notes so I can go on and read comments because reading's my favorite. No, but I'm only taking the mic. Guys, I really appreciate the fact you've shown up in force tonight. these things work so much better with you guys, and I'll always appreciate your input. Where did we get down to? What's G say here? The law of that scene is that the American was jealous and that it was the actual real fight. Not sure if I buy that. I may have missed that. Or
Is that going back to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I've got a bit behind on the comments, so that's my bad there, people. But hopefully the guys in the chat will know. And if you're watching this on Watchback, you can always watch along with the comments. What's Jason say here? Makes me laugh. We still had American Ninja, so I guess because Turtles was a kid's cartoon, they could have had Ninja in it. Yeah.
Well, it was for us, though, wasn't it? Like American Ninja was an American-made film. They didn't have the same rules we did. There was not of that rulage over China at the time or anything. So I get that. Do you know what I mean? But then again, the Turtles was American.
Yep, it was. It was.
But is that because what was it? So was the same cartoon in American Ninja Turtles? It must have been. And we just got the hero because of...
Hero was only over here, but the point Jason's making is that we had other we had other films and whatnot with American, not with American in it. American's not a banned word over here. Ninja was a banned word. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right. He's dead right. Yeah, it's a bit weird, that, isn't it? There must have been some loopholes there back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. B says, here in the States, kids were cracking their heads open, messing with nunchucks, me included. See, over here, I made my own set out of bits of wood and string. Because I know,
but once it cracks you around the ear, you think twice. Don't you? That's when you put the nunchucks down and think they're not for me.
Or once you crack one of your sisters around the legs of them, and your old man catches you and beats the living crap out of you for hitting your sister. There's knock-on effects to it. VTR says, and yet we had loads of computer games called Ninja this and Ninja that. Yeah, we did. It's crazy. Kieran Bull says several of those 56 guards are actually played by Jackie Chan. Yeah, no, I think I may have referenced that earlier. Yeah, the one scene that I really caught a good eye of him was the one where Bruce snaps his neck. But yeah, I believe a lot of the people in that film played multiple roles. You know, they're henchmen. It was low budget. They had the people there, so they would have just used whoever was there.
Well, I suppose you need a good stunt team as well, and you know how many members of a stunt team is there? Do you know what I mean? So he must have played like dubious roles. Yeah,
Jackie Chan, well known for his stunt ability as well, so he would have absolutely. They'd have utilised him. G says, I caught a couple of knots in the noggin from Chucks, Mr. B. Everyone basically just saying that nunchucks, they just beat them.
With no Bruce Lee's with them.
Yes, agree with VTR. In fact, Coxie says, yes, agree with VTR. In fact, my favourite game on the Atari XL was called Ninja.
Oh.
We had Ninja Gaiden over here as well on the.
Well, my favourite game, I used to have the arcade machine. It was Shinobi. That was always my favourite. I love Shinobi. The first Shinobi, the original. Loved it.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic game. Vic says, one of my favourites is Jet Li in Unleashed. That must be one of her favourite martial arts films.
Unleashed is a great film. Brilliant. Really good.
See, I loved Bruce Lee in Lethal Weapon 4. I thought he was brilliant in that. You know, when he's... Lethal Weapon 4.
I don't think I've seen that. Oh, Jet Li in Lethal Weapon 4. I can't remember it on.
It's well worth a watch back. It's not the best Lethal Weapon film, but to see him in that and the way he moves and he's very Bruce Lee-esque in it when I'm sure there's martial arts infuses that there would go. His style was nothing like Bruce Lee's, but it's the fact that he just beats everyone to the punch and he's so damn good. He's got that aura of Bruce Lee about him more than anything.
I'd say my favourite Jet Li film is probably Hero. I love Hero. It's brilliant. It's a great movie.
That is a good one. Have you seen Jet Li's The One? The one where he goes and... I saw that at the cinema. And the worst part of that film is Jason Statham's American accent. That's the worst part of that film. I thought it was cheesy as hell at the cinema, and I bought it as soon as it came out on DVD. I absolutely love that film.
Jason.
It's just at the end on the pyramid. I'm the one, or I will be the one when he's fighting all his.
Again, he's Marshall. The first Transporter, that Luke Besson one. The martial arts in that, Jason Statham was brilliant in that Transporter movie. I loved it, the first one.
Mm-hmm. They are good films, and Jason Statham, I assume he's had martial arts training of some degree because he's bloody good. What we got here, Kieran Ball, the James Garner murder mystery movie called Marlowe from 1969 features an awesome cameo appearance from Bruce Lee. Yeah, it does. I've got that in my list of Bruce Lee films, but I just stuck to the main ones. But I tell you what, Kieran, I'm getting you on a stream at some point, man. You are a knowledgeable dude. You are very knowledgeable. I love that. What else does Kieran say? John Saxon played the robot who fought the $6 million man in the episode Day of the Robot. There you go.
That's the thing. I always just remember just John Saxon being on the TV all the time. I just remember him all the time as a kid.
Oh, what's VTR say? So, and sorry if I'm skipping past some comments. I am reading them all. I acknowledge you all and thank you for being. I just got to try and get through these. Bruce Lee's facial expression after killing O'Hara. Yeah, it's that. That's a brutal kill, and how the music goes from that sort of synthy, poppy sort of 70s. Well, not synthy, but it's got that sound to it, and then it just goes like that dark sort of horror thing. In the, he looks
because it is 73. It's not that much out of the 60s, so there's still a lot of psychedelic like elements, isn't there, in Enter the Dragon, especially with them scenes where it all goes dead psychedelic-y tone music and death is here. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, but I'm just read out these couple of comments. There's one more scene in the film I want to speak about, and then we'll get to the bit that I know some of you will be very interested in, which is winning a one-off print of a Bruce Lee piece of artwork that Sai has done. The amazing artist sat to the side of me, well, virtually anyway. But Jason says, Jackie Chan, one of my favourites. I watch all his old films back in the day. Jackie Chan's excellent.
Yeah,
and
brilliant. The best.
I know he's done amazing films aside from this, but I still love the Rush Hour series. I love those films.
Rush Hour 2 is my favourite one out of them two.
Yeah.
Rush Hour 2 is just so
it's
funny.
The end credits as well, where they show the outtakes and the bit where the guy goes out the window and he goes, well, he's not going to be in Rush Hour 3.
I can honestly say, out of all of them, Jackie Chan is probably my favourite. No one has ever entertained me more cinematic-wise as a stuntman than Jackie Chan. No one. And I'm on every film he's ever made. Who Am I? Mr. Nice Guy. All the police stories. Drunken Master. I'll tell you, Jackie Chan's films are just amazing to watch. There's a new one that came out last year called The Ride On, I think it's called, or Ride On, I can't remember. But it's basically, he plays an aging stuntman that's at the end of his career and sells his horse. So him and his horse have to retire, but they get this big break to have a comeback. Nick, the film is beautiful. You will absolutely love it. And there's a scene in it where he's watching old footage of his old movies, but it's actually old footage of old Jackie Chan movies. And you can see the emotion in his face that he's got to an old man. He can't do this anymore.
Dude,
the film is beautiful. You will love it.
So I'm getting softer as I get older, and I have started to get
cry like a baby in this.
Oh God, am I going to cry?
Especially with the horse as well, Nick. All the scenes with the horse, and because Jackie Chan is got such a believable face when he acts. He's like Robbie Williams. He has that believable look in his eye.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, you'll cry like a baby, but it's so beautiful. This film was only made last year. It's on Sky. I know it's on Sky at the moment.
What's it called again?
It's called Ride Down or Ride On. It's called Ride
I'll find
something.
It. I'll find it. I will definitely watch that.
If you've not seen it, get around to watching it. It's a beautiful film. It really is.
It's going to be one of those ones where you sit there and the missus is like, you're right. Yeah, there's dust in my eyes, isn't it?
Listen, I was sat there bawling like a baby in this. Like, it was hard work. Do you know what I mean? And it takes enough things like that to make me cry. Like you said, the more older you get, the more sensitive you get. But it was just a nice journey going through all what this guy's given me since, like I said, the 70s. Do you know what I mean? And all the films he ever did. And it was just a brilliant homage to all that. It's a great film. You'll really like it a lot.
I would definitely check that one out. Kieran Bull, the 1984 TV show about Ninja Master starring Lee Van Cleef was called The Master in the UK, but in the USA it was called The Master Ninja. Wow, there you go. It's changing things up again. That's the whole ninja's bad. Monkey Boy, Hero is my favourite Jet Li film too. Awesome.
Yeah, and I also love Donnie Yen in that film as well.
And Vic says Jet Li is such a nice guy too. I've seen a lot of these guys, like seeing Jet Li on camera, seeing Jackie Chan on camera. They all come across as incredibly nice guys, and people in Hollywood say they are nice people too, which is always nice. Right. Anyway, before we get to the thing, one more scene I want to talk about. My favourite scene: the Hall of Mirrors, the final fight. Lee versus Mr. Han, the knives, you know, the one you've based this picture on, the iconic scene with all the cuts and scratches. Sorry, I've just seen a comment that VTR, I'm going to have to read it. Nick, your balls will swell up watching Ride Down.
Dave
man.
Easwell, watch it. It's a great film. It really is. And you know, Jackson can watch it, Nick, because it's a nice film. It's not, there's no gore or swearing or blood or anything like that.
No
it's just a nice film about an old stuntman. Yeah, your Nick, I mean, your Jackson would love it. He really would.
Oh, 100. Yeah, he loves stuff like that. So I will, I'm going to, I'll watch it with Jax this Saturday. Anyway, now Mr. VTR has distracted Mr. APD with the ADHD one more time. I shall, where was I? The Hall of Mirrors, the final fight, a scene which Bruce Lee took a lot, had to be convinced on. Someone in the production team, one of the high ups, came up with this idea after being in a hotel and seeing loads of mirrors, as the legend goes. Yeah. What do you think of that? I love that fight scene.
It's amazing film camera. You don't see the camera once. Not once.
Well, apparently
they at the beginning. It's amazing how they do it.
They made special cutouts to put the camera in so you wouldn't see it, apparently.
Yeah, it's a feat of cinema.
And then there's that line later on in the scene which Bruce's master says to him about, what was it, about breaking the image or you know.
Smash the delusion, doesn't he? So he just gets it, starts smashing all the mirrors.
But I love that scene, and although it's not gory, I mean, I used to work with knives for a living. I was a butcher, and getting cut. Whenever you get cut, this is what happens if you cut your hand, right? You cut yourself, and the first thing you do is you go, and you grab it like that. You grab the cut, and you're apprehensive, and you don't want to look. Because believe me, I've got scars all over my hands from. I used to go down when I was an apprentice butcher. I used to go down the local. Minor injuries, go down there, and they'd stitch me up. I got to the point where I didn't even bother on the anaesthetic because it hurt more than the stitches. Got loads of little cuts across my hands here and that. If I showed you. But that's what happens. And I'm watching that scene because I've been cut before and I've been caught myself with a steak knife before and slashed myself. Oh, I find that scene, maybe it's just me, but when he's slashing him, I'm like, and I know it's not the, but
he still love that scene. Times, doesn't he? Twice across both cheeks, one's across the side, one across the stomach.
In the courtyard before it, he uses like the bear claw down his face, doesn't he? That weird sort of hairy bear claw, which is what the whole film finishes on.
Yeah.
And then it's that sort of that aluminum for our American cousins block with those like hunting knives wedged in that he puts on his hand, and you can see it's been machined and made. And every time he cuts him, and the one that gets me is when he slashes Bruce down the back, and you see him go like that, because I can just imagine. Guys, everyone's cut themselves at some point with a knife, but working around very sharp knives, it happens. Occupational habit. I hope none of you ever get cut as many times as I've had. But it's I don't know if it's just me. Do you feel that? Is it just me being a weirdo? But I love that scene. But whenever he gets slashed, I'm like,
Yeah, it goes through. Yeah. It's a great scene, though, isn't it, Nick? Again, it's one of them cinematic scenes that you once you've watched, you never forget. And it's only basically a hall of mirrors, but it's the trickery involved in it. It's right clever how it's done.
Oh, you might recognise this person. Who's this? Who's this then? Who's this?
Shabby Geek.
Hello, Mark. Well in for getting here, mate. Good to see you, sir. But I love that scene, and there's an amazing bit in it. And I maybe it's just before they go in. No, it's just before they go into the Hall of Mirrors. But there's a moment where Bruce kicks Mr. Han and you can clearly see the dummy and he kicks it across the camera and it goes past at the speed of light. So it's just before they go in.
That's great, that scene. Brilliant scene.
That scene is fantastic. And then, you know, obviously the spear goes through and he runs through, and the way he impales him on it at the end, and Mr. Han's just there. And it's quite a dark scene with that music and the door just turning and Mr. Han just there like that. And it's like,
it's just got that that sort of weird music and he's just spinning round. Then it kicks in. I love that movie. It's great film, isn't it?
And then, you know, sadly, old Roper sees his love interest dead on the floor. Well, you assume she's dead on the floor, but she's dead. You don't see her die though, do you? Or do you see her die? Did I miss that?
Which I'm glad that. I mean, you could understand in all the destruction going on that there had to be some implement of someone dying. And when you saw her on the floor, you're like, it's reaction, because he sort of looks and then puts his head down and likes to say, "Oh," and so you think, yeah, she's dead. But then when he sees Bruce Lee and he sees that they've actually done this now, it's sort of like,
and then you get the proper Bond ending where all the helicopters then land too late. They've already, you know, you wanted evidence.
You know
I've
what?
killed him.
I never put two and two together there about it being like a bomb, but you're dead right. I mean, we have a villain island. We have a big main villain. We have a couple of sidekicks thrown in. It's hard to get to this guy to a certain point. Only certain characters can. Once you said that tonight, I've come to realise there is a massive Bond influence in Enter the Dragon. There really is.
It was just G's comment there. Leaving him spinning on that spear was epic. Yeah, epic and dark. But yeah, so I loved this film. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure chatting about this film to you. You're clearly a big fan, but let's face it, there's a lot of people here who are going to be here who want to win a piece of artwork from you. Now, what I can do is I can bring up a picture of the artwork so you all can see it. I mean, I have to find it. There we go. Where have you put it, Nick? Where have you put it? I just want to make sure I don't bring up the wrong thing. Here we go. So, this beautiful bit of artwork that was originally drawn by Sai here, MANGAFANDANGA. He's doing a one-off print. And I'm not even allowed a copy. I'm not allowed to enter this, and I'm not allowed a copy because it is a one-off. But he has promised me as a consolation a Turtles print, so I'm very happy with that. So you'll probably seen these giveaways before. I've not done one before. So I am doing this based on what I've seen the likes of our Stu, Universal Toy Collector, do. So what I'm going to say to everyone is, and I'm going to give it a sort of strict time limit of a minute, because I'll have to wrap it up and I don't want it going on all night, and to keep it fair. How do we get to this timer? So I'm going to set a 1 minute timer, and I'm going to say to people, in the next minute, anybody who writes Bruce in the comments section, just the word Bruce, we will enter onto a spinning wheel, and that will be our enter. So I'm going to start that minute now. So if you want to win that amazing bit of artwork, write Bruce in the comments now. Or hashtag Bruce, I don't care. As long as I see the word Bruce, you will be going into the draw.
Yeah, it's poster size as well. It's A2, so it's poster size. Full image is on Instagram. If you want to have a look at what it's going to look like in a frame. And I drew it years back. It must have been 2017, I think. And it will be a one-off. I won't be putting this into production. It's a one-off.
And anyone, I only need you all to put it in once. Okay. If you put it in more than once, you still only got one entry. Sorry, G. Come on, people. We got 10 seconds left. Come on. All you got to write is Bruce. Bruce. Just write Bruce. 3 seconds left. And because I'm going to let it run for 10 more seconds, just in case, with that annoying music, just because we all need to hear annoying music. Right, there we go. So what I need to do now is I need to bring the magical wheel up, and Sire's going to help me by reading the names out in a moment. I'm just going to have to do this. Share screen. And sorry for the clunkiness of this, people, but I've not done this before, and I am gonna need Si. If you could go up the comments, Si, and give me the names of everyone who's entered, mate, I'd really appreciate that.
Yes, tell me when you're ready.
I am ready to start typing very slowly.
So the first one is Scream 7.
Scream V, yep.
Then Shabby Geek.
One moment. Shabby, yep.
Travels with Jason.
Travels Jason, yep.
G-Force.
G-Force, yep.
Alps.
Palps, yep.
Keith Sinclair.
Keith Sinclair. And if I spell any of your names wrong on this, don't worry, we'll know it's you. Yep.
Vintage Toy Rush.
VTR, yep.
Mr. B.
Mr. B, yep.
Mrs. S.
Mrs. S, yep.
And I think that's it.
Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Let's have a look. Sorry, because let me share this. Okay, so I've got that. I'm just going to double check. Double check. It's not that I don't trust you, mate, but I just want to make sure I have missed.
No, yeah, I'd rather you
nobody.
double check in case I've missed anyone. Yeah.
Keith Sinclair, my bro. Okay, well, that is. I'm just going to give it a few more seconds for anyone to say that they've been missed if they reckon they've been missed. But if I don't do that, then I'm going to spin the wheel and we will have a winner. We will have a winner. So, right, are you comfortable for me to spin the wheel, Si?
You release the demons.
Right, here we go, people. Here we go.
Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Oh, and it is. You're gonna make. It is Scream 7 or Scream V. It says Scream 5 there, but I just typed V because we all say Scream V. Okay, so brilliant. Congratulations to you, Scream. That is absolutely brilliant.
And again, it was a one-off of a one-off. I painted that. It's never going to be printed again. So you've got something quite special there, really. It won't ever be printed again.
What I would say to you, Scream, is you can either contact me on my email address, which is actionpopdad@gmail.com, or contact me through Instagram at actionpopcast. That's on Instagram. I'll leave these details up on the screen for a few more minutes. If you forget for any reason, do not worry because you can watch this back and get the details, but I will read it one more time. That's actionpopdad@gmail.com, or you can find me at the Action Popcast on Instagram and drop me a private message. And as I say, I will leave the details on the screen. So, yes, let's have a look. We got a lot of people saying congratulations to Scream. So yeah, no, well done. Absolutely. That's a beautiful piece of artwork. And Si, thank you so much for donating that piece, because Si has kindly donated it and he's posting it out. And so I can't say any fairer at all. Scream, if you could let me know, just seen a comment here. GeForce, can I watch it back and get a respin? Ha ha ha. But I'm so chuffed that Scream's got that. But you know, and anyone would have been a deserving winner in this chat. Guys, you've all been absolutely fantastic this evening. You've all shown up in force. I've loved doing this chat with you, Si. Before I do my socials and my sort of wrapping it up and telling people what I'm doing next, is there anything you want to promote? Anything coming up? Any projects? Any shows you're doing?
Yeah, I do. On Wednesday night, I've got the Tub Thumpers with Shabby Geek on the Shabby Geek channel. We've got a great guest this Wednesday as well. I think you'll all like who we've got on. I'll be doing a stream with Salacious Rum at the end of the month of October, 21st of October, which is basically promoting my new t-shirt business, which is up and running. And that's about it. I'll be about.
Fantastic. Well, again, Si, thank you so much for your participation this evening. You're a star. I've really enjoyed it. And I know that there's another film you want to come back and discuss soon. But before that happens, I will say this time a little bit later next week, 10 p.m. next Thursday, I'm going to be doing something very similar. Unfortunately, no giveaway next week, but me and Luke Reynolds are going to be discussing First Blood, Rambo First Blood. Ooh. Yeah, so very similar to what we've done this evening. And there's going to be a few shows like this coming up in the next few weeks. I've got some awesome guests lined up, and I will be reaching out to some other people soon. And if you enjoy the series, people, please get in touch, and we can chat about if you want to come on and take part down the line. Other things I've got at the moment. Yesterday, me and Stu, the Universal Toy Collector, on this channel, we dropped the second episode of the Rant podcast, which is me and Stu ranting about all the small things in life. So please do go and check that out. It is available on Spotify as well, but I think it's far more fun to watch it on YouTube. So, if that's your bat, if you want to hear two grumpy bastards ranting about ridiculous small first world issues, please do go and take a watch. And yeah, and also last Saturday, me and Monkey Boy, we did the live and moderately entertaining about Arnie, and I think that's well worth a watch. So there's plenty of content that's just been, there's plenty of content coming up. If you haven't already, guys, if you've enjoyed the stream and you're not already subbed, give us a sub if you want. It's appreciated if you do. And if you could give this a little like just to tell the algorithm that people enjoyed this, that would be absolutely brilliant. I have been Nick APD. To the side of me, we've had Si MANGAFANDANGA. Si, any parting words before we go?
Concentrate on the finger and you'll miss all the heavenly glory.
Be like water. And on that note, guys, it's been an absolutely epic time, and we will see you on the next one. And Scream V, do not forget to contact me for this picture. So, Si, it's time to do that awkward wave and say goodbye. Bye.
Do my shuffle my books.
Bye.
Have a good news.